brief introduction to Cuisenaire rods. The rods are measured from 1 centimeter to 10 centimeters, with each increment being 1 centimeter. They're great for using in fractions as well as making tens. I want to just shout out for that. They're great for teaching students to make tens. So first with fractions, let's think about taking one of the colored rods. Let's take the 10 rod. And you can show the students that it can be divided into, or they can learn it on their own and explore on their own, but find 2 equal parts, so the 2 yellows, so it's now making halves. And you can further divide it into 5 equal parts, or making fifths. So you're showing a unit fraction. This is 1/5. And you can show that 3 fifths is represented by 3 equal parts of 1/5 size. So they're equal parts, are partitioned into equal parts. You can take another color and let that represent your unit. So let's take the brown and let that represent our whole. And it can be divided into 2 equal parts. It can be further divided into 4 equal parts, and it can be partitioned into 8 equal parts. You can show that this is a unit 1/8. You can show that 2/8 is equal to 1/4. You can show that 4/8 is equal to 1/2. You're showing equivalent fractions as long as you're referring to the same whole. Now, a thing I really like to do with this is once the children have explored and played with the different divisions, I'm going to show you this is the 9, you have 1/3. You can make a train. So you can take an orange and a red, and you've now made, this is our unit is 12. And you can show halves. So I have 2 dark greens. You can show thirds. And let the students explore and find this out on their own. You can show fourths, and you can see sixths. Okay, again, you can see equal parts. You can see that 3/6 is the same as 2/4. It's the same as 1/2. When you're referring to, this is our whole. You can also use this to explore and learn about fractions that have the same denominator. So I can compare 4/6 to 2/6. They have the same denominator. 4/6 is larger. Now let's compare fractions which have the same numerator. Okay, here I have 2/6 and here I have 2/4. Well, which is larger? And you can discover that and talk about that with your class. You can also do one more thing that I want to show you is represent whole numbers. So let's take our brown and represent, this is our 1. This is our whole. Well, if I have 2 browns, I have 2 wholes. And if I have 3 browns, I have 3 wholes. So you're actually representing here, this is 3 wholes or 3 browns, and you're representing whole numbers. If I had this, I have 2 wholes, 2 ones, and that's the same as 2. It's improper fractions. Let's take brown as our unit. And we talked about before that 2 purples is a half. So we have 2 halves. What if we had a 3rd half? So you have 3 halves. Oh, I have 1 and a half. You're showing improper fractions. If you wanted to take your blue as your unit, that's my 1. And here I have 3/3. Well, what if I had another third? So now I have 4/3. I have 1 and 1/3. Or I have 1 and 2/3. Or that's the same as 5/3. So you can learn improper fractions.